Hello.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. How's it going, Christine?
Good. How about you?
It's going well. A little later tonight than usual. It's dark now during our discussions.
I don't really like that. I miss the sunshine.
It's getting darker and darker every day now, I notice.
Yeah. It's definitely becoming winter. Not that I mind the cooler temperatures and the pretty fall colors. It's my favorite season.
Yeah, fall, yeah. We're now getting into where it's like the colors have really changed in this past week, I've noticed. But the leaves are also, we haven't had a frost yet, but the leaves are like on the ground. I'm like, wait, I want to see the colors first before they drop.
They're also early, the colors too, compared to other years. But
yeah, it's like we just got into October.
Normally it's the end of like mid-October to the end is the peak, because that's when Instagram reminds me from previous photos.
Yeah, I was thinking that we did like a family Thanksgiving hike, and last year we went somewhere nearby. It was like the colors were beautiful, the peak at mid-October. But I feel like we have to get out and see them now before they all drop.
Oh, they're all gone. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's been a while because we didn't do a live stream last month. So
that's because I was away camping. I'm about to go camping again. I like to go camping, and there's just not tons of service in the woods.
It's either we have to get in our discussions in between your time in the woods.
Especially this year. This is like trip number 11, I think. No, trip 10.
Trip 11?
Trip 10. 10 and 11 are happening both this week.
Amazing. I mean, this year is the year to do it.
I had weekends
this
off all
year is also the year to read a bunch. Sorry, what was that?
So we did read House of Dragons by Jessica Clues.
Yeah. So this your pick, right?
Yes, it was. Because I already had this book because it looked interesting. And it did have a lot of people had said it was going to be a bigger book in 2020. So we got it at the end of 2020. But it's basically, there's these 5 characters, and the story is told from those 5 characters' perspectives. It even says right on the back, the liar, a soldier, servant, thief, and murderer. And they are picked basically to go through these series of trials. Their dragons are called, so they all have dragons, to see who will be the new emperor or empress. And that's kind of what the book is about, in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's kind of, reading through, it's kind of like, I wrote my review on Goodreads, it's kind of like a mix-up of Game of Thrones mixed with Hunger Games, mixed with, there's little elements of other types of stories all kind of mashed into one, but it's still its own unique thing, with its own unique characters and stuff. But that's kind of like how I like to describe it, because it's a trial to the death. Well, only one person can become like the victor, the emperor, empress. So that's kind of why I was like, oh, this is kind of Hunger Gamesy.
Yeah.
Especially because they're all young people trying to compete. And
so we don't know, do we know specific ages? I know the soldier person is 18. It says he's 18. But all the others, they don't.
Yeah, the others are a little bit. I just assumed they're all young, because I believe like 17 to 19 is the age range.
So it was very special that these folks were the ones that were called to the trial, just because normally it's like the eldest member of the family from these five kind
Yes.
of families. And then they were the younger siblings, or they were actually like bastard sons, and one was a servant that was
Yeah.
for the family.
So that's what I was going to chat about. Like the first 5 chapters, it kind of repeats kind of a similar sequence where each person is being selected or called. So it's the great dragon or something. This presence calls one member of each of the great houses, and it's like you said, normally the eldest child, and so the eldest child prepares their whole life. But it's kind of a twist on that because it's not the person that you think. And what's cool about how she repeats like the first 5 chapters is we get introduced to each of our characters. So we have Lucian,
Yeah.
Lucian, Amelia, Hyperia, Ajax, and Vesper.
Yeah.
So this story is very character based, so I'd love if we could chat about each character and which one you liked, which one you didn't like.
Really first of all, I just want to say I liked how she did like those character perspectives, and that it was just kind of cycling through each one, and there was a lot of overlap. But then she did, I found, a little bit less of like setting the scene every time, because you were about to see it a couple times from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat way of doing it. For character,
sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, before I start mentioning stuff, are we gonna do spoilers? I think we do like a pretty in-depth hour-long thing. I think we can do spoilers, right?
Yeah, probably.
It'd be more interesting to discuss, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple spoilers that are probably going to be happening. Okay, so before we get into the spoilers, what would you rate this book out of 5?
Sure. Normal? I rated it 3.5 out of 5.
Same.
Yeah. Same. We seem to have similar ratings.
Yeah, we do.
I think that's a fair rating for how much I enjoyed it versus like the content, because it's some pros and cons, but overall I think it's a really fun book. But there were certainly elements that I wished, it's like, for example, we can get into like the cons later, but it's not a high fantasy world, so the world building is very limited. So I think in that aspect, I wanted to see more of the world. Like they would mention places or parts of like the different castles of different of all the houses
with their politics and regions.
Yeah, they would mention something and then I would forget the place or name because it was just mentioned, but we don't explore it a lot. Yeah, we can get into all that.
I'm kind of the same thoughts. I enjoyed it. It was a decent read. It's definitely a young adult fiction book, which I think makes it a little hard to compare, especially because we did read some more adult.
I was going to say, is this our first young adult book?
I think City of Brass was considered young adult.
I'd have to. I thought that was an adult fantasy, but maybe I'm wrong. Because I think it definitely didn't read like a young adult.
Yeah,
it was maybe because it was more like a high fantasy, like more world building. But this one definitely feels like the first YA.
Like, end of elementary school, beginning of high school, great read. It reminds me kind of the books like Eragon and Aldous and the Inheritance series, especially with the dragons and writing style.
Yeah. It's very childlike when it comes to the dragons, which they almost treat the dragons like dogs. in a way, like they're pets.
Yeah.
I think there's literally a dragon named Dog.
Yes. And okay. Do we want to get into spoilers now?
Yes, let's get into
Right.
spoilers. You can start with whatever you want to start with, but we were talking about those first 5 chapters.
Yeah. Okay. So the first 5 chapters, the first 5 characters,
Yeah.
was there a character that you identified with most? It's not necessarily like or dislike.
Probably Amelia, I would say. But I really liked I would say the characters that I liked the most out of the 5 were Amelia, Lucian, and maybe even Vesper too.
Okay.
I think they're meant to be like the likable characters, whereas like Ajax and Hyperia were, well, we get to know them a bit better throughout the story. What about you?
I also identified with Amelia, but I think that's just because like I could easily be like, yeah, I grew up and didn't necessarily get along with my families, but I haven't like had to serve people or I wasn't groomed in high class or been a soldier. So like kind of makes sense that we both identify with her. We're also not thieves. So
what I identify with her, she relies heavily on her like intellect, and she's constantly trying to gain knowledge in the context that she's doing this to help, because she wasn't the one who was going to be, she didn't think she was going to be picked, but she was trying to help, I believe,
her
brother. So she was doing it out of like a survival, I guess, necessity type thing, but she definitely like that's her thing, is knowing things.
knowing things, being very independent and not needing anyone.
Yes.
In terms of characters that I liked right off the bat, I liked Amelia. I liked
Vesper?
Yeah, Vesper. And I did like Hyperia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not really like Lucian. Even at the end. I don't know. I felt like he didn't, and I feel like he could have, but he didn't have that much depth to him. It was kind of just like, oh, I followed orders, and so he was a soldier, and he doesn't agree with the war.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up killing innocent people under his father's directive. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the only, like, there was no growth or change in him, where, like, at least with Amelia, it was like, so in their world, there is like order and chaos, and they've decided that chaos is evil. They've tried to get rid of it. And Amelia is coming to kind of acknowledge that like chaos isn't that evil. She's not inherently evil. And they go hand in hand, and that like kind of growth, or even Hyperia, even though it doesn't work out in the end, there's like that moment of like, will she be accepting and be kind of one with the other group? And then even Vespa, like becoming confident. There's like personal development in those characters where I didn't see any of that really in Lucian. Kind of at the end, but it seemed to me kind of like oh yeah, he has to change somehow. Added in.
Right. Yeah. It's still like I'm hoping, because it's still the beginning of a series, so hopefully we'll see maybe something change with him, but maybe we're just seeing like the beginning of his story. I try really hard not to compare this with Game of Thrones at all, but it's really hard not to, being such a big fan of it, but what I liked about what you said, you liked Hyperia, it kind of reminds me of characters and how George writes very like morally ambiguous characters where okay, spoiler, so like she straight up just murders her sister.
First chapter with her perspective.
Yeah. So that's what was really cool about those first 5 chapters, because it's like, okay, repetitive. Okay. Oh, not the right person's being chosen. Okay. And then It kind of reminded me when I was reading this relationship between her, Hyperia and her sister Julia. It kind of reminded me of like Katniss and Prim, where
Yeah.
Prim's being like called for the Hunger Games, and they have like this loving sister relationship. And I was like, oh, this seems like it's such a sweet. Then she just kills her. So
No, yeah.
really shocked. I was like, okay, well, this
Done.
anyone can die here. I like that. You know, that does
But
remind me a lot of Game of Thrones.
nobody else died. Somebody else should have died.
Yeah, somebody else.
Like,
Yeah,
there should have been some real consequences, or at least some grave injury. And then even at the end, you think that Hyperia is like dead.
yeah.
Like, okay, kind of an easy end, but then she's not dead at the very end. But then also, I'm like, just she should have just been dead. Like,
I have a lot of thoughts on the ending, and the ending is really infuriating for me, and probably anybody who has watched season 8 of Game of Thrones. The way it ends just resembles a lot of what happened to Daenerys Targaryen, where she just turns mad, and the ending is the same. The Hyperia like just goes mad and uses her dragon to kill innocents.
yeah,
I couldn't wrap my head around that. Like, why she just all these things happened where she was like, you know what? I'm just evil now, and
kill everyone.
it makes for a very entertaining ending and very action packed. But there was a part of me that was like, okay, we know this person is kind of crazy because she murdered her sister, but she thinks it's justified in a way.
In herself, with that guilt the whole time, like it has to be more, and it's because she didn't want her sister to go through all this trial and then still die, and just she thinks she can be the better empress.
But there's a part of me that's like, you didn't even give her a chance to try. What if she did? Like that could have been her chance to live, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. You didn't give her a chance. Maybe she could have. Maybe she wouldn't have. Who knows? That it seems pretty brutal, the trials, but that's what makes me think. Okay, this lady wants the throne.
Yes.
For herself.
I thought it was interesting though that like at the ending she was still so in this book there is like a priest and priestess who like listen to the dragon and they orchestrate this entire trial and like who's going to be the emperor and empress. And we realize at the end that it's totally just the two of them running the show.
Yeah.
Like they can't even hear the dragon. They're like, what, the dragon talks to you? They're like, how do you know what the dragon picks then if the dragon doesn't talk to you? The great dragon, at least, should specify. And they ended up murdering the previous emperor. And like they pick Hyperia to be the new empress if she'll like let them live or whatever. And I can't believe she was willing to go through with that, knowing that they like killed the previous one and they're all about like order and justice, and that's what she thinks it is.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, it's like they're clearly not order or justice. Like,
right. So that's why it confused me, the ending. I'm like, okay, you've been chosen to sit on the throne. Yes, it's not what you thought it was, and what's happening is, you know, behind the scenes of this like corrupt system. But you could have made a change. Why did you decide to just murder innocent people?
I couldn't believe, and I don't know, because just like, so Amelia has this chaos, this talent. I'm calling it a talent, at least.
It's cool. I think it was an interesting
kind
of, spin on like magic.
Yeah, just the uncertainty of it. And like she now knows that Amelia has that and it's just like, nope, she's gotta die. Like I'm like, but you've known her and clearly she has it under control and isn't evil. And like the dragon called her your whole belief system. So like either you have faith in the dragon or you don't, and she couldn't really decide, and it was just like, let's just make this character evil. because that's the easy thing, an easy way to have conflict right here at the end. And wrap it up.
I was laughing because I'm really glad that we got an explanation about her affliction with because it just seemed so bizarre that she explains how the first boy she ever kissed, she accidentally like blows him up. Like it's so absurd until we get this explanation of okay, all of this chaotic energy or whatever is being kind of released through her, and now there can maybe be other avenues. So she's not like always on edge.
Out of her.
Like, okay, let's don't blow up any more people.
Yeah, now she can have it under control.
Yeah,
which is good. And I liked that at the end, like the dragons could talk.
Yeah, like that was really unexpected. Was not expecting that.
I kind of expected it, but that's again because it was
for dragons to talk.
Yeah, but I think it was because I was comparing it to like Aragon, and they had, and like even with Vesper, the more of the equal relationship and like using each other's eyes and stuff. So to me, it reminded me a lot of that novel, and they can obviously talk and they're intelligent beings. So I was like, why aren't they talking? Like, I don't know. Most dragon books I read, the dragons talk. That's what makes it fun, is it's another intelligent species. And my favorite part was when Dog started talking.
Guap.
So Dog is the dragon who, for his behavior, seems very much like a puppy that doesn't listen and isn't the
then when he
brightest.
starts talking, he sounds like a.
They even spend like a good chunk making your dog or dog is as dumb as all these different things. Like all the other characters are ripping on Ajax, who is Dog's companion, I guess, or other half of his soul. And then he starts talking and it's like this eloquent language and he's just spouting off words because he can finally talk, and
you're like, whoa, okay.
That was very much an interesting relationship between Ajax and Dog, his dragon, just because it was very like opposites, and like I guess they complement each other that way. But then you also had Vesper with, what was her dragon's name? Katrina. Interesting choice for a name, I thought too. But they seem way more similar in their relationship. So it's just interesting the different dynamics that you got with the dragons and the riders. And then even all the characters, I like that they were kind of friends.
Yeah, they did kind of form a little bit of an alliance, and the reason why I was like, oh, it made me feel like, in Harry Potter in the second book when they're kind of solving mysteries, it kind of made me feel like it's like they kind of became a band of friends there at the end, trying to figure out, they're gallivanting around the castle trying to follow this lead of they find for this thing, and they're trying to figure out what is happening with that weird vision that they saw in the last trial. So it's going to do become friends in the end.
Yeah, and then even like they're all sitting around drinking and eating together and like having a philosophical debate about why they should be or should not be emperor or empress.
What else is there to do on the eve of your potential death other than to just drink and
I liked them as a group. What did you think about Amelia and Lucian? So Lucian is a soldier. About kind of their relationship that was happening.
What did I don't know. I feel like I have no thoughts on that. It's fine. Like they seem to just both automatically from the beginning kind of have a soft spot for each other because didn't they like spend time together when they were younger?
Spent together.
So they kind of go into it as having a past together, and then now and they're in this like awkward situation where they have to compete against one another. Again, very like Katniss Peeta kind of.
Yes, that is exactly what it reminded me of. Yeah,
Yeah.
Katniss Peeta, just like that. Oh,
She
well,
tries to
might as well
distance
make
herself
the
from
best
him.
of this bad situation. We kind of get along. So yeah, if the series continues, I'd be interested to see what their relationship is. Also, just because like it was very much like, oh, we're together because we're here, and it wasn't really explored as a relationship. See, so like I love plot-driven books, which is probably why I enjoyed this book. It was mostly plot, and
Yeah.
it moved along. It was very streamlined, but there wasn't tons of that character development or world building. So
You never
could
know.
be
Maybe
because it's
the
a young
author
adult
will
book.
hit us with that, and I don't know how many books they're going to be, but maybe there'll be more of that. It's definitely like from beginning to end. There's more that you want to know, so hopefully, like I've been familiarized with these characters now, so I could definitely see myself reading the next book, seeing where that goes.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
know.
I
Yeah.
still want to know like Ajax, so he's a thief and he steals things. And he keeps mentioning like I'm above doors. And that's how he breaks in and steals things. And I'm like, what does that mean? Are you breaking in through windows? But he also says no, he doesn't use windows. I'm like, how are you like are you secretly in control of chaos too? That you like
Right.
change the wall or something and walk through sand? I don't know. More questions.
I think what needs to happen with this series in order for me to care a bit more is more world building.
Mm-hmm.
I also how at the end Hyperia is burning. It's called Dragonspire, right?
Yeah.
She's burning it to the ground. We didn't really get to like know anything about Dragonspire. We didn't really get to explore any scenes or any of like the people who live there, or there wasn't that. So I was like, okay, well, why do I care that this like city is burning? So hopefully, there's a little bit more world building, so you can care about the people and places a bit more. What do you think about that? Like, I think that would be two things that hopefully.
I think too, for me, there needs to be like not more consequences, but like actual loss. Because it's like, okay, they did all this and it was kind of hard. And yes, one of the dragons did lose their sight, but they can still see and like
Yeah,
they're super
that was
excited they
sad.
can talk now.
It was sad, but I appreciated that it was there, like you said,
Yeah.
more loss, because it's those types of moments where you're like, it makes
That's
you
when you
feel
can
something.
connect and like or even like the threat of more loss. Cause like yes, there was this threat of death, but it didn't seem that real. Like even though Vesper like tried leaving and like felt this searing pain in that, but it just wasn't so immediate. And then it wasn't even like a huge like if they die, it's like, oh yeah, you're no longer alive. There's no kind of greater consequence or like
Right.
someone living
To
through the
that. What's
pain.
the ripple effect of that would be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Because that's
think
where it gets spicy.
yes, it needed a bit more conflict. I guess conflict, kind of conflict. That's not quite
Yeah.
the right word I'm looking for, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just not knowing what she has in store for this, because it seemed, yeah, like you said, it's very plot driven. It's fast paced. It's like from the second of chapter 1, you're kind of thrown onto this.
I mean, there's a murder in like chapter 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but she set it up to where it can be. There could be more
Yeah.
consequence, more loss, like you said, or chapter whatever.
Yeah.
There's a murder, so it kind of made me think, okay, ooh, like this
Mm-hmm.
author's not afraid to kill characters. What's gonna happen?
Yes, it's a very plot character book, but see the not afraid to kill characters, but then there's no other deaths or like
No.
actual like amazing.
Well, you think there is. How you think Hyperia is dead? Okay, we lose Offidus. That's
I
how.
didn't think she was ever really dead because I'm like, there's no body. That's like always a sign that they're not dead.
Exactly.
That's a sign she's not dead. She's still gonna be there.
Just trying to check my notes.
I don't remember. I had
Yeah, especially in TV shows too. You're like, I didn't see this character die.
Yes. There's no body at the funeral. Like,
sorry, I was just pulling up some stuff I wrote about. I feel like, yeah. So I definitely would want to see, like I said here, just like more. I don't know that ending. What did you think of the ending? I feel like I've kind of bashed on the ending.
I wasn't a fan. It was kind of like almost out of character for Hyperia, based on like just the other characters that we've seen, and then her struggling. Like, it seemed out of character for her. It was kind of predictable, and that she's going to survive, and that they're going to have like a fight, and that Amelia's going to live. Like, even if Amelia died, I would be like, that would be an interesting twist. I'd be sad at that, mostly because I identified with her the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. And I think that was because it was so plot driven, which made it a nice, for me, relatively quick, easy read.
Yeah.
I pretty much read it in 2 sittings. But it meant that there wasn't that world building or like personal development of character development, or like, I didn't really necessarily have that relationship with the characters to be totally drawn in.
Right.
So yeah, it was an okay ending.
Anything, I'm literally looking for anything that resembles Game of Thrones in any way. Literally, the title House of Dragons is like the title of the new prequel series that's going to be coming out in 2022. Like, same smart branding on this part of this novel.
Yeah.
There's probably lots of people waiting for George's new novels coming out, and they're like, if you see this, so smart. Yeah.
It's a good young adult book.
Yeah.
As an adult, though, now I'm like, I want a little bit more to it.
I was thinking too, would we think like the side characters, like Vesper comes from, I forget which house, but she's the servant, and it was supposed to be Antonia, the daughter of that great house, who is probably going to be called to be in the trial. But also like their relationships with, like, none of the families are like nice to these characters.
Yeah. None of them have good family relationships.
She's chaotic.
And even like, she was shocked because she's like, I thought they would at least still support me, because one of their challenges, like, they have to get so many houses to give them their coin, and whoever gets the most coins wins. And she went and secured 2 others, and then like her own family didn't give her the coin.
And yeah, I just feel like I think households are so, they all come from like a toxic background.
Yeah, and then even like Hyperia, at first you think because she has her loving sister who she murders, but then she has like her parents, and they've been grooming her. They're high class. Oh, it's so easy. And then you realize, no, it's like you had to eat a poisonous cake repeatedly so that she would be immune to poison.
Yeah.
And like, then her mom is devastated at her sister's death and hangs herself. And then like her dad is just like, oh,
yeah,
I have no heir. And she's like, that's all you care about? Like, not even that I murdered your other daughter? Like, oh, you have no heir. Like, having that selfish of a parent who only cares about their bloodline, I also just don't understand that ever.
If for a while in the book there were some darker like tones too. Like, I didn't really like Ajax throughout the whole book, and then you get to a point where he starts talking about what like his father does to his mother, and just like I don't know, the backgrounds for all these characters are so brutal.
Yeah. I did appreciate that though, where it's like, it's very much like the real world kind of, where it's like, this is your impression of them and this is how you see them. And then it's not till you're like really at the end when they're all thinking they're about to die and drinking that it's like, oh no, there's actually way much more to them, and this really helps you understand. Same as in real life, where it's like, I have these impressions of people until you like actually sit down and really talk and open up.
Yeah.
Some of the
Which
things.
is kind of what made me a little mad about Hyperia's ending, because what I like, it kind of reminds me of Jaime in Game of Thrones. Like he does horrible things, but then becomes a lot of people's favorite character because he's so like nuanced as a person. Like he tries to murder a child, but then he also like goes beyond his oath to protect the king, and slays the king to save millions. So like he has these nuances to him, just feel like, okay, he does
morally gray. They have their own set of morals.
Favorite character of a lot of people. Whereas could seeing a little bit like, well, maybe that might happen with Hyperia. It's like, okay, she's done this horrible thing where she murdered her sister, but she's the way she's been brought up, and she's like, well, my sister's just in that moment of the calling, she was like, this, my sister's going to be cut, she's going to be murdered, she's not going to make it through these trials. I might as well save her that ending and go like pursue what I was meant to do. So she's has her own justifications, and it's horrible, but then she struggles with it the whole novel, and she seems to have this like soft spot because she's like, my beautiful sister, like my Julia, like throughout the whole book. Like she feels so bad. You can tell she loved her sister. It's not something she ever wanted to do. So then you see like these nuances in her, and I was thinking she was gonna start becoming better friends with the other characters, and so that's why the ending was a little. I was like, what?
Right,
what is
it was kind of out of character for her. Like, even though she's very much like, these are how the rules are, and like this is the order, but still, like, I don't know. When someone is murdering your emperor, I start to question how legitimate they are. And like she even is a little bit like she wants to like find the key in that, but then like, oh yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. Yeah.
So
wasn't a huge fan
not
of
sure where she is. I don't think you can do some in fiction. I think some of the characters can do some horrible things and maybe start on like a redemption arc. But I think murdering hundreds of citizens, I think she's just at the other end now, where she's just a blatant villain now.
Yeah.
Where we could have maybe learned a bit more of her.
Like a good villain is one that you can like understand, and then now that she's just straight villain, and we kind of almost miss the transition, I guess it's kind of really hard to still be like, I want her to do well when she like her dragon to die, which is kind of sad for her, but like,
yeah, but it didn't seem like she had that strong of a connection. It just seemed like he was like a feral beast that she
was
tried.
a pet that she tried controlling.
Yeah,
that was what did they call a pit worm?
Pitworm, yeah.
Pitworm. So,
exactly.
Yeah, kind of makes sense.
So, Daenerys Targaryen met the same horrible fate. So, can we stop doing this to potentially strong female characters?
Yeah,
they have a better ending, please.
Especially like a strong female character that knows that they're strong.
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, Amelia and Vesper are stronger characters, not quite as strong as Hyperia, but like for them to even identify as that and recognize that, that's what the whole book is kind of like. Oh yeah, I'm not actually evil, and oh yeah, I have every right to be an empress too. I'm not just a servant.
Yeah. It just makes me feel like she seems pretty logical in her own sense. If she wants to be, she is kind of very by the book, orderly. Okay, this is how things are run, but then it just makes me feel like she fell to this like emotional side, which I feel like women are always
portrayed as doing.
Portrayed as emotional. So
emotional and crazy, trying to kill everyone, and
yeah. So it was like she couldn't handle that Camilla and Petrus, the priest
yeah,
and priestess, had conjured up
that they run the show,
that they
and
run
that's
the
just
show,
how
that
it
they
is.
murdered the emperor. It's like she was wrongfully crowned empress, and like, okay, let's work through this. I don't know why she got so. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
forgetting
I don't know. I just
elements,
read it
like
last night.
stuff
I
that
finished reading
happened.
this
I'm
book
like,
last
why
night.
did she get so all of a sudden worked up? Like, it has to be done truthfully and honorably, or not at all. You
Yeah,
know,
and then
it's like you
even at the very
murdered your
end, like
sister to get here. Okay, let's set things right. You are now the all powerful. You are the empress. Like, you could make
yeah,
changes.
and
It
then
just
even like the whole at the very end, she's like gone to cut out her heart, but not because she's still alive. For like so there's a group of people that were the chaos people, um, that are frozen in crystal to wake them up. And I'm like, she's like, oh, you cut it out at the heart, but like you're just waking them up and breaking the spell to set them free. Like, that is not logical. I don't.
forgot
For the
about that.
logical character, not following logic. So I guess you need a
So
villain
maybe
though if you're going to continue the
do we
series.
see it going where it's going to be like Amelia and Hyperia kind of butting heads? Maybe because there are now at the end, the rulers are all four of them. Ajax,
Yeah.
Lucian, Amelia, and Vesper all are going to rule together, which is kind of interesting. I've never read a book where there's like, there's a queen or a
Oh,
king, but not four rulers.
it reminds me of Narnia.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Oh
The
fun.
four. Yeah. And like honestly, even with like the characters, they kind of seem like Lucian could be Peter, and Amelia could be like
Oh,
Susan, and
yeah.
Vesper could be oh no, I'm blanking on the
The
name.
little one.
Lucy.
Lucy.
And Ajax could be Edmund. Like
Oh my gosh. I love that.
it kind of reminds me, yeah, I guess
Let's
of
hope for talking lions and
that would be
centaurs.
cool. I mean, dragons can talk, so maybe other animals can be intelligent.
Yeah. Imagine the next book is just like this super high fantasy, extreme world building, and
Would love that.
yeah,
Or even a little bit more diving into like, even though I don't normally like politics, as we know,
yeah,
I don't handle them very well. Um, there's just a lot to read because I do like the action. This one could have used a little bit more.
more politics.
A little bit more, or like more explanation behind them so that I
Yeah,
could be invested in said politics and the outcome.
right.
And now I'm
Maybe
like,
now that you're more invested and you know the characters, maybe the politics you'd
we'll
like
start.
more because it's affecting the characters that you now know and hopefully love.
Yes. Which maybe that is the point. And maybe that's why she wrote it like that too. Cause like, especially as like, if I look back to what I would have been as a young adult, would have probably loved this book. But if it had that other stuff, like more of the high fantasy, it would have been almost too much, and I probably
Yeah,
would have been like, "Oh, this is a lot to read."
yeah.
But
It's
now that
definitely
like,
a perfect, fun, simple, kind of medieval type
yeah,
adventure.
so it draws you in, and then maybe she can do some of that.
Yeah. So who would you say from like top down are you rooting for then?
I'm probably now rooting for Vesper.
Ooh, I thought you were gonna say Amelia.
I
I
still
was
like
saying
Amelia,
Vesper too.
Vesper, Amelia. I'm still not like Lucian. I'm like, I don't know, just get over yourself and like be something more than just interested in Amelia and wanting to protect her.
Right. But it's because he's so like damaged because of what he did though, right?
I know, I know. But I
So
just I don't know.
His basically his whole thing through the book is he just wants to try. He never wants to take up arms against another living being ever again because he's so traumatized of what he did.
He said another innocent being or whatever.
Right.
And then at the end, he's like, "Oh, well, they're not innocent."
So yeah, he's kind of
So I
stuck.
can still take up arms. Yeah. But it's I don't know. So yeah, I'd probably Vesper or Amelia.
I think
Hyperion's the evil one now. And Ajax, I'm just like, I need to know more about him. I think because it's still very much, I'll just take what I can.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, Vesper, you're kind of rooting for because she's like the lowborn. She's the servant. She never was supposed to amount to even this.
And then she just at like for the majority of the time only wants to survive because she cares so much about her dragon and doesn't want her dragon because the dragon and the rider or the is killed. So it's more about saving someone else than even like saving herself, and it isn't until the end she's like, oh, I can make a real difference,
which is admirable.
So I think that's why it's just like the good heart that she has, and there's like she's very much a person about love too.
And plus I need to see her get back to her love. She needs some happiness in her life. Okay,
she does. I didn't really like that like Antonia like didn't give her the goodbye that she wanted, and then as soon as she's crowned empress, is like saddles up with her and is like, yes, I'm with her, and I was like, no, you gotta like wait till she accepts you back, and I don't even think she should accept you back because you were kind of mean.
Yeah, I forgot
about that. Like, you're kind of just like, oh, I can't because I don't want to see you die, like, but oh yeah, you'll live. Yeah,
I think they don't. I think they like kind of make up or embrace at the end, though, right? Like
at the very end of the book,
yeah.
But I'm like, clearly, I'm not a forgiving person, right? Like, no, you thought I was gonna die and didn't want to deal with me because you didn't want the trauma of me dying. You can't just now that I'm empress be like, oh, it's cool, I'm here.
Yeah, true.
You know, we have to work on this relationship, build the trust
in progress.
Can't just be like, oh, you're empress. Oh yeah, I do still actually love you.
True. But I have no idea where the rest of this series is going. So how do we? Yeah, this book came out this year, so I don't know if they've announced a sequel or hopefully soon. But
I don't think there was even anything in the like. Often there's like info at the back of the book, but there was nothing. I guess. Yep. Nope. There was nothing. Like often they have like the part of the next book.
It's very recent. It came out in April of this year.
Yeah, like
so
it was 2020 book.
Probably, she's probably still working on something. Hopefully, yeah. It seems like we've started a lot of firsts of series this year. We'll have to.
Maybe next year we'll be just reviewing the second books and comparing
sequels to all of the things we've started. So we've started City of Bones, which is going to be a trilogy, which Netflix has picked up. Yeah. I think we've good picks this year because I think City of Girls is also going to become a movie.
Yeah, City of Girls, City of Brass. Fifth season.
Is this the start of the trilogy. House of Dragons.
Then what other book did we read? The awful one last month. There's not even a video on it because we were away, which is okay because it was an awful book.
Yeah, August.
The Wild Inside.
we gave it a shot. The cover and the description seemed promising.
Did not match the description. There was a reason it was in the discount pile at Chapters.
Yeah, I've never read something from the discount pile, and we gave it a shot.
Books from there though, like that's why I was like, oh yeah, sure.
It's like 50-50. You're gonna maybe get something.
I know.
Yeah,
there was a reason.
Yeah, we read The Wild Inside, which we both rated 1 star.
Check our Instagram or Goodreads and see our
and
why.
Is there anything, do we want to discuss for House of Dragons before we maybe...
And I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah, I think
it's a decent read.
I would recommend this book for anyone who kind of liked the Hunger Games, who likes Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. It's kind of like there's elements of each. But it's still its own unique YA story.
It reminds me of Eragon and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, kind of that style. It's kind of wholesome, but not.
Wholesome, but also there is gore.
Yeah, like, it's kind of wholesome. Gore. I think it's wholesome because, it is wholesome because it is a young adult book, so it's not relying on sex as a driving factor for conflict. It's just straight up regular killing and murder.
Just straight up regular murder. Wholesome murder.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have anything to add. It's a decent read.
And next month we have chosen. Oh, you have it there. It's so beautiful.
It's so pretty. I can't wait to hold it. And like, I originally thought this was actually a water stain. And I panicked for a moment, and I was like, "Oh no!" Because it was on my desk, and I was like, "What happened? Like, I don't even have water on this desk." It's not. It's part of the cover. It's very well done.
Is there a desk cover? What does it look like on the inside? I haven't.
It's just plain.
We're sharing this copy, so. Oh, it's plain.
It's just plain. It's just a light blue. There's nothing on it.
Still beautiful.
I have to appreciate. I do like the plain books.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Tea Wife is I'm really excited. I'm halfway through already. It's more literary fiction. So there is a bit of adventure. It's about a family that sets off on this endeavor to live on a sailboat for a year, and we get like dual perspectives of Juliet and, oh my god, I don't know the husband's name. That's bad. This husband and wife, and it's really interesting to what's his name?
Michael.
Yes, Michael. They have two kids, Sybil and George. I think it's George. And sometimes I'm reading the audio, or I'm listening to the audiobook, which I love because sometimes the kids pop in and they have like a chapter here and there, but it's really like you'll get a chapter of Michael and then a chapter of Julia. I really am enjoying it. Seeing as I was supposed to learn how to sail this year, so we're living vicariously through books this year. So I hope I have two of my friends that are joining us. I think they're reading it, and we hope you will join us.
Yeah, I haven't started it. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm excited that this one will have, I am assuming, a lot more of that character development and kind of, I don't know.
I think it's going to be a good book for discussion of themes. Themes, life questions. I think there'll be
all like City of Girls.
More like that. Yeah, it is literary fiction. So like themes of the main character Juliet struggles with depression, but also like what it is to be free and to live life on your own terms, and kind of embarking on an adventure that is different than what societal norms of, settling down and living in a white picket fence. So yeah,
it's a very different one than this month's.
Very different. Yeah. So I hope you like it. If not, that's fine too. But I'm actually excited to discuss it. So.
And we'll be doing that on November
1st, because I thought maybe Halloween might not be the most popular.
Halloween. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be sitting right there eating. I'm gonna buy my own candies, so watching spooky movies.
Probably what I'm not even gonna watch like scary movies. I'm gonna watch like Halloween Town.
Yes.
Hocus Pocus,
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. Well, until then,
thank you.
Have everyone. A good month, and thanks for watching.
And yeah, go read The Sea Wife, and we'll discuss it beginning of November.
Do it. Order it.
Please, we'd love to have someone else to talk to about it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on November 1st.
Yeah. See you.